Hey everybody, this is Coach Stacy. I'm here with Coach Allie with Gymnastics Mindset Academy. This month, we're continuing to talk about performing under pressure. And for this week, we just have a very quick hack for you, and it is helping them turn their have to want tos. One of the things that gymnasts say all the time is, I have to hit. I have to score. I have to qualify. And whenever you tell your brain you have to, usually the feeling is pressure and anxiety. And so one of the things we try to help them do is you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do gymnastics. You're here because it's fun. You're here because you want to do it, not because you have to do it. The reality is you want to hit. You want to qualify. You want to win, right? And when you switch that one word, the feeling changes. I want to hit feels motivated, excited, determined. And when you're competing from motivated, excited, determined versus pressure, anxious, and nervous, your actual ability to do the things goes way up. And it's just changing the one little word. And so every time I hear them say, I have to, I'm like, wait, let me stop you there. Do you have to? They're like, no, I actually want to. And that just quick change can totally change their entire thing. So Allie, you want to talk about an example?
Yeah. I actually was working with someone yesterday who is trying to upgrade their vault before the regional meet. And it's something that she really wants to do because for lots of reasons. Okay. I mean, all the time, she got on and she was like, I didn't do it at state, but I want to do it at regionals. And this is why. And she gave me a whole list of reasons and was feeling really good and energetic about it. And then we started talking about doing it. And then as soon as it turned to her coach telling her to do it, because we started being like, okay, at regionals, what are we most worried about? And she was like, that I'm going to warm it up and not compete it. I was like, well, so what? What if we warm it up and we just say, oh, we warmed it up, we practiced warming it up, compete our other vault, and then by nationals, maybe we can put it in. And now you've already practiced warming it up once. That's a great time to practice, right? And she switched her brain immediately to, but I have to do it because of my coach. And then as soon as she switched it from, I want to compete it because of all these things and blah, 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 in the moment to being at the meet and warming it up to, I have to compete it, she shut down. And I literally was like, can we just stop for a moment? Just 2 minutes ago, we just had this amazing conversation of how badly you wanted to do this. And as soon as you're at the meet, you have to do it. Is it true? Do you actually have to do this vault? She's like, no. I was like, can you get a good score without it? Can you do all the things without it? Yes. So I'm like, so do you want to, or do you have to do it because you think your coach wants you to? She's like, I want to. And I was like, yeah. And just that small change, it was crazy because she was doing it herself in 2 scenarios where she was all excited with I want to and all stressed out with I have to. And all I had to point out was nothing is different other than you thinking that you have to versus you want to. And it was kind of one of those things where she was like, yeah, okay, I can be on board with that. And so that was just a fun experience because that was my first time where I felt they did it to themselves, in one coaching call where they switched. Usually we start out with why are you feeling pressure? Because I think I have to do it. And this one, she was just having a conversation with me, and her complete tone and body language and everything changed during that conversation because of how she was talking about it. So it was kind of a cool experience to get her to notice that and be like, oh yeah, if I just stay in this place of me wanting to do it, it's going to turn out much better.
And I love that you brought up that example because coaches, for you, most of the time, they tell themselves they have to because of their coach. Their coach is going to be mad at them. Their coach is going to be disappointed. That's what they always tell us. Well, but my coach said I had to, or even, and we know you don't say that. So even that, you as the coach being the one to be you don't have to do it at all. Do you want to do it? Can be so powerful for them because then it really puts it into the place of them having 100% knowledge that they are the ones that want to do this there's nobody making them do this. And so then that really will help switch it the most powerfully. So I'm glad you brought up that example.
Yeah. And I actually want to add to, like, especially with my older girls, like if I'm with the older ones and I give them an assignment and they like, there's something in the assignment that they're like, I just don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And then I was like, you don't have to. And then all of a sudden they'll start thinking and they'll be like, well, if I don't do that, because I'm like, I'm giving you this assignment because I think it'll be beneficial for you for your routines next year, because of the requirements and some of the things that you need. And they're like, oh, okay, well, why do I need that skill? So then it kind of initiates conversation for them to understand like what that's for. And I'm like, well, you need a front side skill, you need a D skill, you need all of this. And so like without these things, like you'll have a 10 start value, but you're really starting from more like a 9.7 because you're missing all these requirements. And then they'll be like, oh, and I'm like, if you're okay with that, that's fine. You don't have to do that part. And they're like, no. And so then sometimes they'll even ask like, is there another skill that I can do in place of that? And it opens up that kind of conversation, which is amazing because then they're taking ownership and making the decision of what they want to do. And they're like, oh, I think I'd rather try this front side skill. Can I try this one and then show you? And then we can talk about it. I'm like, absolutely. And so if they're taking ownership, it's going to be way better anyways. Right. And so it's kind of fun because you can kind of play it in a way of like, yeah, sure, you don't have to with the older ones, because then, and just make it like very clear, like if you don't do it, this is probably where your start value is going to be, which is like, if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. I just need you to know the repercussions. And I had a girl that was like, yeah, I don't want to do my side aerial. If I'm only starting down to 10, it's way more likely to take me down more than that. I'm going to pull it out of my routine. And are you okay with that? I'm like, absolutely. Like, I'm on the same page as you. So it's just really nice because then they take ownership of that. So then when they go to a meet and they get a 9.4 instead of a 9.5, it's like, just remember, we took out that one skill. So you weren't really starting from your highest position. And so it'll just give them some ownership. And I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, they end up agreeing with you as the coach because typically you're picking skills that you think are going to be beneficial for them as a gymnast. And it just helps them get on board. So then when you give them that assignment next time, it's not so dramatic. Like, I don't want to do this. Why are you making me do this? It's like, oh yeah, this is my front side skill. So I can start at a 10. Yeah. So it's really beneficial for you to do that. I want to, I have to. And that's actually one of the things that I use the most when I hear them, do I have to? When they ask me that, why do I have to do that? I'm like, well, you don't. This is why I put it in your assignment, but you don't have to. Yeah. So it's kind of fun.
Anything we can do to help them take that ownership and that power back is always going to then create, because it's all, again, we always take action out of what we're feeling. And so when we're feeling determined and motivated, it's going to create completely different results than when we try to do the exact same actions from pressure, frustrated, annoyed, whatever. So whatever we can do to help them take ownership is really about changing how it feels, which will change how they take those actions. Yes. But going back to most for those that where you're at trying to help them perform right now, being in competition, most of the time they're really focused on, I have to hit, and just making that, no, you want to hit, right? Yeah, I do. That will really shift it. And it's something you can do really quick in the moment. So, all right, guys, next month, we're going to move on because gymnastics never stops. So we go from, like, some of you will still be going on into nationals, but we're going to move on into setting yourself up for a successful season next year, because gymnastics is a year-long sport. And if you start now, I love the conversation that Allie was just having about upgrades, because what we're going to do is we're going to help you take your gymnast through a process over the whole month where they're going to evaluate the past year. And then they're going to take a look ahead at the coming year. And while this is fresh in their mind, how they felt this month, they're going to decide where they want to be a year from now. So then when you're having those upgrade conversations and they're like, well, I don't care about that 10th. And you're like, yeah, but you said your goal was to win nationals next year. So do you think that 10th will matter? And then they'll be like, yeah. And you're like, well, right now you've got 6 months to work on it and get it. So do you think maybe we could work on that front side skill instead of just like not working on one and saying a 10th is fine? And that will change the conversation dramatically when we really are working on upgrades. It'll also help them get through the grind of drills is when they're looking as to why they're doing all of this for the whole next year. So that's what we're going on to next month. And we can't wait to take you guys on the journey. See you there.
Bye.